The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is hump day in the rib. Yeah, we got a few things to talk about, but I guess you got a... You got a call from your pal.
I received a phone call this morning from the mayor, and he said the way that it sounded on the show was that there was an investigation into Elena Pavidi, and that she actually tendered her resignation 2 to 3 months ago, not 2 weeks ago. And as I told him,
okay, I want to know what his point was, because that's the way he perceived it. Just like nobody has, just because you got a bullet hole in your car or in your house doesn't mean there are bullets flying all over the city. Because he took it that way doesn't mean everybody took it that way.
But I just wanted to make it clear, we did not try to infer nor make a suggestion of any type.
You didn't even say anything. You said we said there was a rumor and an allegation.
Exactly. And I said that to him over the phone.
Unlike him, we know what we say, and we're very specific about what we say.
Yeah. So I did say that we would clear it up a little bit. So Miss Pavidi has given her notice 2 or 3 months ago. She wants to go down into some other area of expertise, and you can't blame her.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Who cares where they're going?
That's who cares? Okay, another job he made up for somebody. And
well, no, he didn't make up that job. Yeah. Sam Sutter actually made that job, but it wasn't in the sense that it is now.
Yeah. But they put their people in. Who cares? That's what he's
And he has an intern coming in for the summer.
I really don't want to get into a debate.
I'm not debating.
And listen to you try to defend his actions.
I'm not defending anything.
Because what I want to do is, since he loves to be a nitpicker.
Yep.
And he likes to be specific about things that he is getting, because he can't deal with it. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Paul. I'm going to ask you to be specific. I want you to tell me how much I'm paying on a Durfee debt. I want a number. And I don't want to hear it's too hard. It's too hard. You got all these people that are supposed to be bean counters. It's too hard. Taunton told people exactly how much they're going to pay.
Exactly.
To the penny.
That's right.
To the penny. And by the way, you did actually have a number there, and somebody's got it. And I know there is a public records request asking for all the money paid toward that debt. And it has not been given, and they're overdue. And I know there's going to be a complaint filed about the fact that they won't tell us how much of our money they are spending. That, and I also want to know what happened with Malone. I want to see the report.
So, well, I've been asking for that report for a long time.
We want to see the report. We want to know how much all the lawsuits are causing us. We want to know a lot of things, but you don't tell anybody anything. And then you're going to call. That's why you answer his calls. I don't answer his calls anymore, because this is the problem. We also know that the person who was allegedly, well, it wasn't allegedly, he actually was accused, there's actually a police report on it, of groping a student, is now gone. But do we know what kind of investigation, what happened? Could it be that because just because he's somebody's friend, that they just let him fade off into the sunset? We hear he's working in a row. I hear, and it's alleged, can't prove it. I'll have to find the exact restaurant, but he's working at a restaurant in Providence now. He's gone off, and everybody will forget it. Remember what our friend said. Keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, it'll go away. Now, this allegation, hope the father keeps pushing it. And I also want to know, we also heard that the head of security's gone too. And there was some serious allegations about what he was doing it nasty up in the attic.
Yep. Well, it's interesting you bring that up because Paul brought that up because I was mentioning it to him, and he said, well, I suggested to the parent that they get an attorney and let it follow its own course.
Yeah, but how about the school department doing something about it?
Well, I said to him, I said, well, every other school system in the area has a policy that if an accusation is made, the person is placed on administrative leave until an internal investigation can be completed. And he goes, well, I don't know if I believe he said, I believe, I don't know what the policy is.
Oh, he's only worked in the school department like 40 years.
Well, they keep changing policies.
They don't have any policies.
They don't.
That's their excuse.
Right, that's always.
They don't have any
and that's
policy,
from the entire school department.
And that's bull.
Right, and that's from the entire school department.
Number one, there is a sexual harassment policy that was based on federal guidelines. It was adopted by the city of Fall River, and I know it exists because we used to have to read that at least once a year to every shift and have the people sign that they had seen it. There was a video presentation about harassment, etc. So this is crap.
Obviously, Matt Malone didn't see it.
Yeah, well, they knew he was a disaster when they hired him. See, this is the whole thing that pisses me off about him because, it's like it's always, you said there was 17 people, it's 16 people. We also know your nephew's gone. He's working in Rhode Island. We know that your sister-in-law's gone because she had a complaint filed against her for bullying people. We know a lot of things, Paul. We know a lot of things. We get a lot of information, but they're allegations because nobody can crack the hermit kingdom. Nobody ever knows what's going on in the school department. And you've been covering up your entire career, and that's the way the school department operates. They cover up everything. The head of security, and that guy was working for the school department for a very long time, he's gone. But you see, when you don't address it, those behaviors continue because there's never any accountability. That guy school department should have conducted. Well, I mean, you just go across the street or something like that to Providence. There was a school, somebody in school was accused of something. They immediately put him on administrative leave.
Right.
And the school did an investigation while there was a simultaneous criminal investigation.
And that person is in court now.
That's right. But then again, we know Paul. Paul's the master of the deflection and a cover-up, and we know there's two Pauls. I'm Mr. Nice Guy Paul, and to go jump in a Taunton River Paul, and go to New Bedford if you like what Mitchell's doing so much and stuff. And I'm going to show you. This is going to come up later. I'll put it in the context, but I want you to look at that. I always get my fingers screwed up. I want you to look at that face there. See, that's not a smile. That's a glare. See, that's the glare Paul gives when he's not happy. That's the other part of the personality here. But you're calling about this minutia. You want to, oh, look what they do. No, they said that. We said that there was a rumor and it was an allegation that there's an investigation. And then we went on to the rest of the story because it just was an aside.
Right.
And we went on to the rest of the story about this new individual who they crowed.
Samantha Barboza.
Who they crowed. She's lived in Fall River her whole life.
Yep.
Well, but you hired somebody from Warwick. You hired somebody from. Most of the people you hire are not from Fall River. I mean, Joe Good and that rag, that propaganda thing. They're ridiculous. I mean, first he gets anointed the savior of the homeless when he took their tents away. Now, because it's an election year, then he was the savior of the drug addicts when he was opposed to STAR's expansion, and he's done nothing. There's no plan. But with that, and she made that ridiculous opening. I wish he still had it because I'd have you read it again just for dramatic effect. The Fall River's in a renaissance. We're in a renaissance. Well, number one, I guess I know Paul didn't major in English. And I know that Joe Good might have majored in journalism, but she didn't major in history. because the Renaissance took 4 centuries. The Renaissance began in the 14th century, ended in the 17th century. So it took them like 400 years to elevate Europe, teach people how to read and write. The Renaissance is not about creating a wealth zone, because that's what she's calling a renaissance, a wealth zone. Market rate housing, bringing in housing that can't be occupied by Fall River residents because it's too pricey, is not helping the people of Fall River. Attempting to displace them is not helping the people of Fall River, who you were elected to help.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that on Monday, I was watching a TV program, and an entire neighborhood was up in arms because of gentrification.
Yeah.
Because what was happening was their properties were being taken over, high rents, businesses were being pushed out because they were using those buildings and jacking up the rents on them so that the businesses couldn't afford the leases to bring in Starbucks and, you know, all these big name companies. And people were being pushed out of their homes because with that gentrification, so did the rents go up. Oh, I wonder where that's happening.
Yeah, well, you know, CJ, but the thing is, there's a revolution coming in the entire country because affordable housing is now problematic throughout the country because of this kind of stuff.
Right.
The inflation eating away. Yet, you get all these illegals and they deny the border. It's like, Paul, we denied it doesn't exist. Millions of them pouring in, and what do they get? They get hotel rooms in New York. But when they go to the wealth corridor, like Martha's Vineyard, what do? Get them out of here. Get them out of here. The Renaissance. They talked about the Renaissance.
Hey, I wonder what would have happened if they sent all those people from Martha's Vineyard to Fall River.
Yeah.
I wonder what would have happened. I wonder what would happen if they started taking all those people living on the streets in Texas and put them on a bus and sent them to Fall River.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's already beginning because I got a call today, and again, I haven't confirmed this yet, but we will, that the representative Alan Sylvia is alleged to have said that there are a lot of homeless moving into the south end of the city of Fall River, and there are a lot of people calling his office that they cannot afford rents. They can't find a place to live in the city of Fall River. Yet Fall dismisses this. 40 units is enough. So with that, we had a snapshot here. But the 2 market rate housing people that think this is going to fix everything in the world, which it doesn't, as you know, gentrification. And this is the caption: Paul, don't worry about a thing. Our Rent-a-Sance initiative will be great for Fall River. And Paul's already said that because he's already forgotten maybe that he was on a show that said, in the long run, these high rents will be a good thing for Fall River. No, it's a good thing for the rich people, the $7 million corridor down there with the benches and stuff. Because you know what? The rest of the people, like in the South End and in the Flint and the rest of the city, that don't live in the Highlands or own some property on the wealth corridor, normally referred to in this city as the Dvorka, which has now become a racetrack.
Yep.
Remember, isn't that ironic that on Monday show I talked about some kid flying around there on a scooter, using it for a playground?
Yep.
And some guy flipped his car over,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Speed.
Driving too fast.
But this is what's going to happen to the regular people of Fall River. This is what's going to happen to them. They're going to get a notice to vacate. Welcome to Fall River's Rent-a-Sance. It's not a renaissance, it's a rent-a-sance.
Well, let me tell you a little something about, and I've spoken about this before, so if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. Everything that goes before the Zoning Board of Appeals for these market rate units for those developers like Tony Cadero, they keep bringing before it parking variances. Number one, I don't think the Zoning Board of Appeal has the right to waive a city ordinance. City ordinance says 2 parking spaces for every unit, that minimum. And because they're making market rate housing out of 66 Troy Street. You know the building that used to be next to the old wallpaper place?
I'm very familiar with Troy. That's the fire station.
Right, behind the fire station. They're waiving parking requirements.
Well, they waive them everywhere.
Right,
Who cares?
and the zoning board of appeals is now becoming the zoning board of destruction because they're destroying our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And this is in the central business district. Where are people supposed to park to do business down in town? Where are they supposed to park to do business at City Hall? We don't have parking garages anymore because the city rents them out to everybody.
Well, we really, I mean, look, you're right, CJ, but then you got to look at it in their context. The fact is we don't really have a central business district anymore.
Right.
Because most small businesses can't function in Fall River. But they put this housing in, and with no parking, in a place where there's virtually no parking ever. Have you ever driven down Bedford Street?
Yeah.
During the day?
Yeah.
And try to get a parking place on any of the 8th Street, 7th Street, 6th Street, any of those streets?
No.
You can't do it.
Nope.
You cannot do it. It's impossible. And now they're going to, if these things get filled up, where are these people going to park? There's no place to park. And if they take the parking places, people cannot, who are going to go down there to do business, can't. I mean, just look at the city anyway. You know what's always been an irritant with me is I go down to the city hall to go to a meeting or to pay a bill, and I drive down there in the morning. I can't get a parking place anywhere near Government Center because I got half of the post office parking on the street. Now look.
Because they don't have parking.
Because they don't have parking.
That's right.
They're all over the street. They're in front of city. The whole side of the street is all trucks loading up to go out, and people try to get to the post, try to get there, and it's like, well, no parking. Well, guess what? They should have thought of that before. They should have a housing unit. They got a parking area up at President Avenue behind the post office over there. But listen, there's a whole thing. These people don't care. This is pie in the sky. They're going to make money, and when they don't fill these places up like they did before, this is not something that is new. Let me explain something. There has been a lot of housing built in this city. As a matter of fact, and I think I've said it more than once, the area where Stop and Shop on Rodman Street was, if you look at that, maybe 5 blocks, they were all large housing units there. And I fought fires there for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Every single night, they would set fire to one of those empty houses, kind of like the country club. Now, because it's abandoned now, all of a sudden, wow, something happened. It's coincidence that it was burnt to the
Coinky-dink.
That's it. Hawthorne's burnt to the ground. But those buildings were burnt, and the thing was that they didn't let them burn. We had to go in there, and we were told, you can't let these places burn. It's your job to protect property. And you got to go in there and risk your life on a building that nobody lives in and nobody ever will live in, and ultimately it will be destroyed. And we had to go in some of these buildings 5, 6, 7 times before it got burnt so badly that they had to take it down.
Right.
And but this is the thing. This is all a pile of crap. And what infuriates me is when he calls and makes that little, it is about little things, but how about the big things, Paul? I want to know how much I'm paying. It's my money. I didn't move to Somerset when I retired. I stayed here. I want to know how much I paid. I've been paying taxes in this city for a very, very long time. And I'd like to know where it's going and where it's going. Because you not only have a fiduciary obligation, you have a legal obligation. I've got case law. You are not, and when Taunton can do it, and Taunton's what, 1/3 of our size, 1/4 of our size?
And we're not the only people asking for those numbers. We're not the only people saying, hey, I want to know what that debt exclusion is on my bill. Okay? We're not the only ones asking for it. And then we hear, well, the city's paying half of the debt exclusion to give the taxpayer a break. How do we know? How do we know?
And even if they did, He's not using his money.
No.
You know, like when he gives the guy a $5 bill or something, or he gives somebody $10 or something, that's all optics. He's using ARPA money.
That's right.
So he's using our money. Where the hell do you think ARPA money comes from? It's government money. And where does the government get their money? Last time I checked, Joe Biden didn't own those ice cream shops he goes to. And he's not giving us any of his money.
That's right.
So the thing is, you're paying it because you want to keep they're going to be mad enough with the tax bill they get now, and you're padding it to get reelected.
I just got my water bill again.
Oh, God, don't remind me. That means mine will be coming in. But, look, this whole thing, but, okay, I understand that. Oh, let him, he's a politician. Well, he's a poor excuse one, but he is one. He's an elected official trying to get reelected. And, you know, I have no qualms about them. They all pad their resume. They all spin things to try to...
It's politics. That's what it is.
It's politics, exactly, especially during an election year. Like I said, they wanted to have 4-year terms. We should have 1-year terms. That way they'll do something every year because they're trying to get elected.
That's right.
but I don't have any animosity. I'm upset by what he's doing. I expect that. It's up to me to determine what's BS and what isn't BS.
Correct.
But when a local newspaper acts like Joseph Goebbels to propagandize a mayor with no record, no plan of ever doing anything, and using terms like Herculean effort, the champion of the oppressed and the drug addicts and the homeless, when he's contributing to this with pushing people out with their rents. And then this last one, which was nauseating, talking about a renaissance, Fall River. You're telling me that high rents, displacing people, more people into the street, is a renaissance? You keep promising. Oh, it's going to bring business. It's going to bring rich people. I don't see it. You know, it's not going to. Look at Detroit, and remember something. Like I said, let's do a little history here. The Renaissance lasted. It took them 400 years to pull Europe out of the Dark Ages. So these are all political campaign promises. And it's all spin. Like I said, I don't begrudge them. Sometimes you get a little bit of fun, and I got to bring this one up. I think you'll like it. I got another report from somebody who listens to the radio that I guess they little excerpt of the commission, whatever they call them, that are doing a charter.
Oh, Randy Brown, I heard that.
Yeah, no, but did you hear the one with Laura Washington? They were talking about alphabetical order.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you know, like with me, with a name like Washington, my name's always at the bottom of the ballot. Of course, now I guess that's a de facto implication. We could say, Laura, like he called you. And, you know, are you implying that's why you didn't finish in the top 9? Because you were at the bottom of the ballot? Do you really believe people go in and just check the first 9? They don't look for names? If they do, they shouldn't even be allowed to vote, but that's BS. But you know something? Our man, the man of the people, Danny Robillard, the man who was the only minority opinion who voted no, the only charter commissioner that adamantly opposed that charter, and is now, and you know, I don't agree with a lot what Joe Camara does, but his appointment of Danny Robillard was great. Because he not only knows the charter, he's the only one involved in doing it. He's a pretty sharp guy as far as politics and stuff like this. You know what his response was to that? Well, Kathy Ann Viveris is always at the bottom of the ballot, and she did pretty well, didn't she?
Yeah. And the worst part about it is they don't go alphabetically anymore.
I know, but
since the new charter, it's a lottery.
Yeah,
they pick your name out of the hat.
But I guess she's talking about alphabetically or something.
Yeah.
I guess they want to go back to the incumbency and stuff. And,
right.
And
put all the incumbents at the top of the ballot.
Exactly. That's what they're talking
Yeah.
about. And I guess that was her, like, oh, well, you know, that's really not big because I got a name like Washington. Well, Kathy Ann Viveris was at the bottom. I don't think there was anybody behind her in the ballot. V was about the, she was always at the bottom, and she actually topped the ticket a couple times.
That's right.
So, but look, I don't expect her to say, not try to do something for her own political gain. She's a politician, and she's trying to get reelected. You know, all this stuff about this is going to save Fall River, you know, but it bothers me when a news media outlet that's supposed to be objective is blatantly pushing propaganda, in my opinion.
Well, you know, what's very interesting is we don't have any reliable media sources anymore out there. The Herald News, which was a reliable media before before the acquisition from Gannett Publishing and USA, paper, they were reliable. I mean, I used to deliver the newspaper and I read it, you know. So I know what that was like. They had great reporters. They used to cover everything and they didn't pull any punches. Then all of a sudden, Gannett takes over. They close the Fall River Herald News site. They sell it to a printer, and everyone works out of New Bedford now. And so we don't get that hometown newspaper anymore. They want to say it is, but it isn't. And it's obvious because their subscriber base is so far down in the toilet, you know, they can't help it. But when you start listening to people who are on the city council, now also on the charter review, I will never say charter commission, charter review committee, and you see them being all self-serving, as we always see, especially in an election year, it gets to be very depressing. And when even our local news from our local radio station is just a rehash of what's in the Herald News. They don't have any true reporters at the local radio station. So you get everything from propaganda.
Look, you're right. And Fall River Reporter has become the mainstay of reporting in Fall River. They're doing a halfway decent job. They kind of just tell you what's happened.
Right.
And
but you get it the same day it happens.
But the great thing is that it's nice to know that Paul watches and his people watch all the time, because then he can try to nitpick, but that's nitpicking. You know, it's like we did not say that, and I'll say it again. There is an allegation out there. There is a rumor out there that there's a FBI investigation about what's going on in some part of Fall River government.
Right, and I told Paul that I also heard that at the Highland Neighborhood Association meeting, that rumor was also surrounding.
Somebody actually articulated that at a meeting, and we didn't bring it up until after that meeting.
That's right.
Because we needed a little bit of confirmation.
Right.
So, and we did characterize it as exactly what it was,
an allegation.
A rumor and an allegation.
Right.
So,
right.
if you're offended, listen, go politics some more, go spin around. The next thing you're going to do is they're going to find out that just before the election, you're going to walk across the Taunton River back to your old house in Somerset. I don't know. So, I don't know what's going to happen. But you're a politician, and we expect that.
Right.
I expect these people to lie their butts off.
Right. And people don't understand that it always happens. And that was, I don't know if that was a cue that we got to...
Yeah, but we're out of here.
We still got a few seconds left. But, you know, it's really interesting that we get picked on. And guess what?
Never bothered
I
me.
got some thick skin here, so
Yeah, we do.
I'm not hurting too much. So I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday.